The Bigen Africa story is a story of great vision, resilience, commitment, innovation, and a deep-rooted desire to change the skylines of the great cities of Africa and the horizons of the people who live in it. The story began as a one-man business operating from a lone hangar at Lenseria Airport. Today, it has evolved into a success story of development activism, thought-leading infrastructure development solutions, and investment opportunities. Bigen Africa has come a long way from humble beginnings and today proudly makes a huge difference to the infrastructure development landscape on the continent of Africa. With a fast-growing African footprint, Bigen Africa has come to be regarded as Africa's leading provider of infrastructure development solutions, making a difference to the quality of life of all. Over the past decade, our team has delivered a host of mega projects in more than 15 countries across the continent, and the group continues to grow as a powerful force and thought leader in the infrastructure development. The Bigen Africa story has often been likened with the story of the eagle, those great creatures of the sky that are admired across the world as living symbols of power, freedom, and transcendence. Now, have you ever wished to emulate these masters of effortless flight? Soaring swiftly, fearless, with pinpoint vision, tenacity, and vitality, doing what it does best with no effort. After nearly half a century in the industry, Bigen Africa would like to say, we now do what we do best. And it may seem effortless, but Bigen Africa's rise to pinpoint precision has not come without resilience and commitment. Resilience to overcome adverse market conditions and commitment to influence the metamorphosis of how infrastructure is applied so that economic benefits would have a significant impact on the social well-being of those in need. This journey of growth now sets us apart from our peers, winning more than 20 business awards in recent times for achievements in sustained growth, business excellence, transformation, gender empowerment, and social upliftment. It is within this context that we like to call ourselves engineers with a conscience, leaving a legacy for generations to come. Some say you should not judge a book by its cover, but at Bigen Africa, we're quite satisfied to showcase the cover. Woven into the fiber of our existence are not only our core values of creativity, commitment, empowerment, integrity, and wait for it, fun, but certain very strategic applications of these values. Wherever you find Bigen on the continent of Africa, anywhere, everywhere, you will notice these applications play out. The first of this is our creed, doing good while doing business. Our belief in doing good while doing business is a golden thread running through all our business dealings. It addresses issues such as equity, local content and meaningful economic participation, empowerment and transformation outcomes, cultural preservation and social mobility, and improvements in quality of life. Bigen Africa prides itself in helping governments, clients, and partners reach targets for job creation, capacity building, and gender empowerment, whilst achieving meaningful, positive, and long-lasting change. Our philosophy of doing good while doing business resonates with the global trend of conscious capitalism and strengthens client loyalty and brand affinity as clients and partners embrace the opportunity to be part of the bigger picture of making a real difference to the lives of thousands. Moving on, value add, value add, value add. Offering customized and mature integrated one-stop delivery models, a complete solution to all facets of a project, and actively pursuing cross-selling of capabilities to existing clients. Bigen Africa integrates the entire value chain in an infrastructure development process. But what differentiates us from other providers? In-house expertise, astute strategic partnerships, visionary leadership, infrastructure development solutions, and mutually beneficial investment opportunities. From feasibility studies through project preparation, management, and implementation to delivery of projects on time, on brief, and within budget, Bigen Africa offers you the real deal. No nonsense, quality, complete solutions. The third application that you will notice throughout Bigen Africa relates to gender empowerment. Executive Chairperson and former CEO Dr. Snowy Khoza is of course the prime example and role model. An inspiring leader, independent thinker, and passionate community caregiver, Dr. Khoza is also a pioneer in women empowerment, being the first woman to chair a multi-billion rand organization in the infrastructure development industry. Under her reign, Bigen Africa formed women-owned companies such as Women in Water, a women-led water and sanitation services initiative geared to increase socio-economic development impact. At Bigen Africa, transformation of the workforce with a specific emphasis on advancing black women is a priority. And it is proactively furthered through HR policies such as targeted recruitment, fast-tracking, and career development programs. Let's hear a man's perspective on the women agenda in the Bigen Africa story, CEO Anton Boshoff.
Snowy, or Dr. K, as she is lovingly called by her male peers, or Ma Snowy for the youngsters, helped us to see that infrastructure development is so much more than just engineering. Bigen not only navigated through its own racial and gender transformation, we also transformed our project delivery models to contribute to the ever-increasing gender empowerment agenda, both locally in South Africa and on our continent that we all love so much. The Women in Water initiative got us going, I mean really going. It catalyzed women in infrastructure. We managed to secure the involvement of other like-minded women in infrastructure development practitioners to join us in our passionate drive to make a difference, a real difference. In addition to Women in Water, Women in Infrastructure has now grown to include entities in Women in Real Estate, Women in Health, Women in Finance, and Women in Rail, all housed in separate entities with separate shareholders. And these entities are now partnering with other women-owned businesses on projects throughout the continent, changing the face of infrastructure delivery, transforming lives through a subtle, warm touch that only a woman can bring in an environment that is owned by cold steel, cement, and yellow machines. Please take our hands and help us to make a difference in our joint continental gender agenda by partnering with Women in Infrastructure.
Development impact, value add, transformation and empowerment. 3 reasons to judge this book by what you see. But at the risk of having you suffer under information overload, I'm going to step away and allow Dr. Khoza to enlighten you on the power and the freedom and the transcendence of an eagle, and why we at Bigen Africa are so inspired by this magnificent bird.
Well, we as Bigen Africa, we want to fly like an eagle and not tire. Just to contextualize my story is that we have a vision, Vision 2021. This vision is a story of transforming the organization completely from our capital, legal, and to our operational structures, thus creating and embracing and delivering focused kingdom business to improve the quality of life of our people on our beautiful continent of Africa. Acknowledging that the repositioning and building a supermarket structure which sells fruit salad allows stakeholders such as investors and partners to come into the continent, and even getting those partners that are outside the continent to be part and parcel of the supermarket. As a collective, we want to sell our products and services to create a pillar that contributes to the continent's agenda. Our development impact outcome is to contribute to impacts such as job creation, women empowerment and poverty eradication, which will position us for public sector contribution. By focusing and being the best we can as a company in the 5 sectors and services which anchor our ability to integrate, this rubix will make us to be a flying organization that will fly like an eagle and not tire along the way. Our CEO will explain the rubix later. But the story is, which is critical for me, is the question that we can ask ourselves, which is, which eagle is big in Africa? Because there are so many eagles God created. My research shows that there are more than 60 species of eagles, from happy eagles and Philippine eagles that have wings that can spread across 2.5 meters. There's also golden eagles that can fly at a horizontal speed of over 120 kilometers per hour and can forage areas that cover over 100 square miles. To our African voltaren fish eagles that feeds on rich oil palm fruits. In my attempt to understand these great creatures, I ended up generalizing them as eagles. Why? Because I believe that all of these eagles are just like birds, and birds are the same. They are birds of the same feather, even when they are different. So let me just say eagles. Eagles are admired by the world over as a living symbol of power, freedom, and transcendence. If you read Deuteronomy like me, you read from the Bible, Deuteronomy 32 verse 11 says, like an eagle that stirs up its nest, that hovers over its young, it spreads its wings to catch them and carries them over its pinion. The eagle's eyes have 1 million light-sensitive cells per square millimeter of retina. This gives more than 200,000 of a human eye. In other words, it says the eagle's vision is amongst the sharpest of any animal. We as Christians believe that eagles fly so fast and high to touch the face of God. Isaiah 40:31 says, "Yet those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength, and they will mount up with wings like eagle. They will run and not get tired. They will walk and become not weary." The big question is, why should an investor or a partner want to work with Bigen Africa? I believe it's because we as Bigen Africa, we have the same characteristics of an eagle. The first characteristics of the 6 characteristics is fine vision. These birds have keen eyes that can see in a long distance of more than 50 miles away. If you think of other leaders such as Abraham Lincoln, the US president, who took the country through devastating civil war, his vision was to save the Union and freed the slave. So in other words, his vision was so fine that it liberated a lot of people in the USA. For us as Bigen Africa, we believe that we also have a fine vision in Vision 2021 because we want to improve the quality of life and also do good while doing business. The second characteristic is fearlessness. These birds, they never surrender to size or strength of its prey. The bird will get into a fight to win or regain its territory. It also has a great hunting strategy. For Bigen, our fearlessness as an organization is based on our belief in God Almighty. We also believe that there are 366, one addition to leap year, because normally you'll have 365 days in a year, except in the leap year. And the Bible has covered that as well. So we have 366 do not fears. And therefore, as a kingdom business, we will not be afraid because we believe that our vision is protected by God Almighty. And to operate in this continent, we will be fearless. The third characteristic is tenacity. In times of storms, eagles are tenacious. In the storm, the eagle flexes its mighty wings and uses the current to soar to greater heights. No matter what the storm or challenges we face as an organization, our future as Bigen Africa is here to stay. We will not be able to attract partners into the business and let them down by either giving up on the fight or running away. We will stay our course, and we want to emphasize that we are here to stay, and they as our partners will soar with us. The fourth characteristic is high flyers. You know what? Eagles fly up to the altitude of 10,000 feet and still remain swiftly and be able to land on the ground. Eagles normally do not mingle with pigeons. So as Bigen Africa, we don't want to mingle with pigeons. We know that amongst us, we've got other eagles that want to partner with us and run with us. Remember, pigeons always scavenge on the ground. They grumble and complain all day long. Instead, eagles will fly and make less noise. So with our partners, we believe that Bigen Africa will soar like an eagle, will fly so high that will be able to land on the ground in the continent without complaining or mumbling, because we want to bring innovative solutions that will improve the quality of life of people. The fifth one is vitality. You know, vitality is when you are full of life, you are revitalized, you are energized, and you've got a vision of long life. You know, the Bible says, God says He will bless us with long life. And I believe that this organization has got a long life to still continue to be and to exist in this continent. Like eagles. Eagles are also blessed with long life. When eagles are tired, they will retire to the mountain to go and revitalize themselves. Eagles can live between 30 and 40 years. Therefore, as Bigen, we believe that our long-term vision will be part and parcel of us living longer for generations to come. So we'll continue to improve on ourselves. We'll continue to understand what is happening around us. We'll do checks and balances to make sure that we remain focused and we're able to deliver long-term the strategy that we have defined with our partners. The last one is nurturing young ones. Eagles are known to be aggressive, and they are also aggressive in a manner that they raise their young ones. However, at the same time, these birds are more gentle and attentive. If you look at the mother eagle, it teaches the young one, the eaglet, to fly by putting the eaglet on its back and spread its wings and fly very high to allow the eaglet to fall so that it can use its wings. Later, this eagle will destroy the nest and push out the eaglet off the cliff, and that gives the young eaglet to be able to fly. For Bigen, we will grow our young people and our partners to become future leaders through coaching, mentorship, teaching, and guiding them so as they can empower themselves to become future leaders in their own rights. This analogy will apply to our localization, empowerment, and indigenization focus in all countries we will operate. All this is for us to do good while doing business in Africa.
The Golden Eagle has a maximum horizontal speed of 129 kilometers per hour, an average diving speed of 241 kilometers per hour, a maximum airspeed of 320 kilometers an hour. I wonder if Dr. Koza knows these facts. Well, at Bigen Africa, we are spearheading into the future at a similar speed with Vision 2021. By now you know our vision is to be the preferred African provider of sustainable infrastructure solutions, improving quality of life. Anton Boshoff, CEO of Bigen Africa, explains the Vision 2021 in a way we can all understand it.
Imagine a continental supermarket. An African supermarket that creates a platform for locally owned businesses. An African supermarket that shares that platform with other infrastructure practitioners and is supported by a range of partners. An African supermarket that sells these services to a very defined range of economic sectors. A supermarket that works hand in hand with development finance institutions. An African supermarket that makes one-stop shopping possible for local clients, multinationals and the continent's donor community. A supermarket with a twin sister, jointly being able to deliver our African dream. The supermarket lovingly crafted into the Bigen Rubix, now open for business. We sell a range of financial services, technical services, environmental services, social services, and institutional services in the real estate sector, the water services sector, the energy sector, the transport sector, and the health sector. And if it's not on the Rubix, it's inside the Rubix. We still serve other industries with a focus on oil and gas, mining, and education. The joint capabilities in this supermarket makes it not only possible to render advisory and engineering services, but also to play a meaningful role in the concessionary space and to make investments of its own. All of this wrapped in our value proposition of doing good while doing business.
So the question arises, why would an investor invest in Bigen Africa? Well, apart from the fact that I am a product of Bigen Africa. And did I mention the healthy project pipeline? No, seriously. There is the fact that Bigen board and management have a track record that is beyond spectacular, and they have a vast amount of experience. Have I mentioned that their engineering and advisory services are superb? How about acquisitions, mergers, and partnership? We incorporate and optimize value from these coalitions with ease and seamlessly integrate such partners into the group with minimal disruption impact. And then there is the risk factor. Our board and management team place a strong emphasis on risk management. In fact, Bigen Africa is the first known infrastructure development consultant on the African continent to achieve independent verification to ISO 31000, a world-class enterprise-wide risk management system based on the international ISO 31000-2009 standard. This has revolutionized the way the group manages its business and potential risk threats, and how it harnesses potential opportunities that arise. And finally, business integrity is a fundamental pillar of Bigen Africa's strategy. We commit to world-class service driven by a solid code of ethics. But actually, surely you don't think I'm the best person to expound on reasons to invest in Bigen Africa? Over to Anton, who will give you the CEO's perspective on the investment case.
Thank you, Warren. Jokes aside. There are essentially three levels that investors are involved with in the supermarket. Firstly, investments on a project level. Secondly, investments on a selected portfolio of projects in any of the mentioned sectors. And lastly, investments into the supermarket. Yeah, that's right. Historically, Bigen used to be owned by our full-time salaried professionals. For the first time ever, Bigen's capital base will now be owned by a combination of salaried professionals, a selected range of value-add strategic partners, and cornerstone investors. Value-add is the key to our capital base. Value-add leads to growth. Value-add leads to opportunity. Value-add leads to profit. Profit with a conscience. Our selected sectors are all bankable sectors, and each one of those sectors are now led by hand-picked managing directors who are all sector leaders in their own right. Managing directors all have access to the supermarket platform. This unique marketplace is a pivotal catalyst for generation. It generates unique solutions, cross-selling, relationships with a difference, value-add partnerships, a new client base, investment opportunities, concessionary opportunities, different capital thinking, and highly diversified operating revenues. The supermarket is structured and domiciled across the continent in a tax-efficient manner. A true African marketplace, owned by Africans and supported by the international players that wants in on the awakening African frontier.
In closing, by now I'm sure you do not for one moment think Bigen Africa is solely about making profit and creating investment opportunities. No, it cuts much deeper than that. It is about having a social conscience as part of our DNA. It is about actively living our creed of doing good while doing business, as can be testified by Pop-Up, one of our beneficiaries over the last few years. But let's hear more from Anton about our ambitious Akaretsa campaign.
The rubix is wrapped in our overall value proposition, doing good while doing business. Every dream is created twice. The first creation is mental. Every invention, every business, every painting is conceived in the right brain imagination first. It is nothing more than a single cell idea at that specific point. The second creation is physical. You make it obedient to Christ via blood, sweat, and tears. If your dream is a book, you make it obedient with a keyboard. If your dream is playing professional sport, you make it obedient at the gym. Your dreams will never exceed your imagination. You cannot achieve what you don't believe. So idea generation is important, but idea execution is where the rubber hits the road. If your dream is doing good while doing business, you make it obedient with Akaretsa. Going after our Akaretsa dream is a little like riding a bike. We had to get a little momentum to really get going. Growing from humble beginnings, our Akaretsa fundraising campaign grew from 5,000 to 50,000 in 2013 to 5 million rand aimed for in 2017. A rich history of being active in corporate social investment. It is now part of our corporate culture. It is now getting a real momentum. Corporate SA has joined Akaretsa, and we want corporate Africa to join us. Our dream is to build and to contribute to social infrastructure, like a school or a clinic, or a school and a clinic, in each country that we are active in. We dream to execute our projects differently by maximizing local participation, doing skills training, doing SMME development, gender empowerment, and development impact. This dream won't exceed our imagination, nor will it exceed our determination to do good while doing business.
So, now that you know more about the inspiring and thought-provoking Bigen Africa story, I challenge each and every one of you to join forces with Bigen Africa and become part of our Akaretsa campaign. Just another way of doing good while doing business.